Shalom, CBI. How is everyone doing this evening? Chag Tu B'Shvat Sameach. Happy Tu B'Shvat, the birthday of the trees. We are so excited. This is to have you all here on our second episode of Inside the Cantor Studio with me, your very own neighborhood Cantor, Seth Ettinger. And I have a real treat in store for all of you, joining us from the Holy Land of Los Angeles.
Here we are.
The one and only Jason Mesches. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
What's up, everybody? This is so exciting. I don't get to spend a lot of time in Mountain Time, so this is really just based on the time zone alone. I'm excited to be with you. But it's so nice to see you, Cantor Seth. Ay, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It seems like years since I've seen you. I miss the times.
It's crazy. Crazy. Here we are. But it's tree season. Tu B'Shvat, we made it. We did it. We're here. It's my favorite time of year. So this is a great weekend to join CBI. I'm stoked.
Awesome. And we're really happy to have you here as our first musical artist in residence. We're going to set the bar really, really high this weekend.
I love it.
For those of you who don't know or who have never met Jason Mesches, he is probably the most hysterical, witty, and funny person I know, not to mention handsome. He is an acclaimed Jewish songwriter. He's a touring musician. Well, not during pandemic, but when we're not in pandemic, he tours synagogues and Jewish institutions all over the country. He has been featured at the URJ Biennial. He has been on Jewish rock radio, Jewish kids radio. He's a published author by PJ Library, and he is most importantly a mensch. And we are very excited to have him. He was the song leader, and I would say the Pied Piper of children at Wilshire Boulevard Temple for 12 years. That's where he and I got to know each other. And one of the first things that I wanted to do when I became Cantor here is bring Jason Mesches down to work with all of us and spread his good feeling and song to everyone, especially on this being Tu B'Shvat, being the 10th yard site of the late Debbie Friedman. So Jason, it is really wonderful to have you. And I hope that you're staying healthy and safe in that lockdown out in Los Angeles.
We're doing okay, man. We're doing our best here in LA. It's a little crazy right now, but everyone's staying safe, and we're just making music and singing and doing a whole lot of this. So it's really nice, and it's so good to be with you all, especially on this whole weekend. And we'll be a little later on this weekend celebrating Debbie Friedman with your community and all that. So it's just like a perfect time to be here, and it's so nice to see you after all this time, brother.
I know, brother. So Jason has recorded three very popular albums. First, Oneg Time, The Nosh Pit, and most recently, I Want to Go to Mars. His song, Shabbas Shake. We have all heard it. We have all done the Shabbas Shake. Whether
nice, man.
To 90 to 120, we have done it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So Jason, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your background, how you got into the Jewish music biz, and what your influences were.
Amazing. Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. And hey, everyone, CBI, this is awesome. Really fun to see you all. My name is Jason Mesches. I grew up in the great state of New Jersey. I grew up in a town called Westfield, New Jersey. That's in Union County. For anyone who's familiar with our county system over there, exit 135. I grew up in Jersey, and I grew up in a Reformed Jewish home. I had an amazing mom and dad and sister who we had a Jewish house. Our house, we were, I would say we lived very much like the way you live Jewishly at summer camp, where even when you aren't totally doing something specifically Jewish, you're always kind of aware that you're Jewish because that's the environment that was created for us. And that's just like the way our value systems were and the types of music we listened to and the types of theater we watched and all that kind of stuff. And I went to summer camp at URJ Camp Harlem. I'm a graduate product alum of the URJ camping program system, the URJ system. I went to Harlem for 11 years, 11 summers. I was on staff as well there. And I think that's where I became who I am. Summer camp helped me become a leader, helped me become more confident in myself, and helped me actually access my Judaism. And I know that's what we want to talk about tonight, Cantor Seth, is that I did not, my whole life, I did not want to be a Jewish songwriter. That's not, like, I didn't like have dreams of that, you know, in like second grade when you write down, like, I want to be a fireman. I wasn't like, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be in theater. I wanted to be in comedy. And, but while I was at summer camp, I realized that the gateway for me to my own Judaism and to my spirituality was through music. That was like the thing that hooked me in. Everyone's got their own Jewish journey, and that's kind of one of the incredible parts about being Jewish, right? Is that you have your own Jewish journey, and mine was through the music. And I know a lot of people, that's not like a unique story. A lot of people find their spirituality through the music, and so we would have song sessions at camp, and I loved it, and that was my favorite part of summer camp. But I still wasn't really writing Jewish music. That was not what I wanted to do. There were plenty of people doing it, and they were fine at it. And so I continued on my journey and studies for theater, television, and film. And I went to Syracuse University. I studied musical theater and drama at Syracuse University. And right out of school was like, okay, let's go find an agent. Let's get auditioning. And I was planning to go to New York. And then my senior year, I had an opportunity to meet with another Syracuse alum, Aaron Sorkin. And he flew a bunch of us graduating seniors from Syracuse to Los Angeles for a week to like try it out and meet people and mingle. And I met a woman who was interested in helping me get into the union, to get in the Screen Actors Guild. And I changed course. I said, okay, I'm going to move to LA, and I'm going to move with my best friend who I had been writing comedy with. And this best friend of mine, I think, was a big piece of what got me sort of starting to write about Judaism, because we would write together, and we would write comedy songs about things that about being Jewish that we thought were funny. And there are a great many things about being Jewish that are hilarious. And so we would do that for fun, just on the weekends. And even when we moved out here to Los Angeles, we would do that for fun. And we were both looking for work in LA, and I was auditioning and doing little bit parts on television. And during that time, he and I got a job at Wilshire Boulevard Temple here in Los Angeles teaching Sunday school. And that started this process of us being creative and teachers coming up to me and being like, hey, I heard you do music. Do you know any songs about kashrut? And I'd be like, no, but come back to me tomorrow. And I'd go home at night. I'd like write a song about it. I'd come back tomorrow and I'd say, yeah, we got a song. And I didn't really know that that was a marketable skill. I had no idea. And then my bosses at the temple were like, hey, that's a skill that you could just write songs about stuff. I said, no. Anyone who could do music can write a song. And they were like, nah, that's not true, actually. And I said, oh, okay. And long story short, that is how I accidentally started writing Jewish music and writing specifically for children. I found that the 2 to 7 year old area was like, that was my zone. And I think it's because I also didn't really want to grow up. And so it just worked. And here I am, 12 years living in Los Angeles. And I've been touring nationally for like 8 of them now, just singing with kids and families about, still to this day, about the things that I think are funny about being Jewish. And sometimes that helps to educate us about our holidays, about our traditions, about the laws, about family, about Hebrew words, all these different things. But that's where it comes from. So kind of a long answer, but that's where it happened, Cantor. I think you're muted.
You're muted, yep.
Unmute. All right. I think I'm not co-host anymore. So what then? So you were talking about a lot first writing songs about the things about being Jewish that you find hilarious. Can you give us an example of one?
Yes, absolutely. And this will take you back to my best friend and I, when his name's Jacob Perlin, and he and I wrote this song together, and it was this idea about a song about a kid who shows up to temple just for the snacks. Because every Friday night at like every synagogue, you have your Oneg Shabbat, right? And the word Oneg, in case you don't know, the word Oneg means celebration. And every synagogue on Friday night, you have this end of the service comes, and you have those walls, and every synagogue has those walls that kind of pocket into each other to make a bigger room, and you go behind the wall. And then there was challah and cookies and grape juice and all that. And we thought, like, this is such a funny idea, because we were those kids that we would sleep through the whole service. And then as soon as we would wake up and like run to the back and challahs, cookie, the whole thing. So we started to write a song about that. And it's just about a kid who showed up to temple for the snacks. So I'll share it with you now, because I guess that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this is called Oneg Kid Will Be Back. You guys actually have a part at home that you're watching. Your part sounds like this. Oneg Kid will be back. Can you try that with me? Oneg Kid will be back. Good. Sitting 4 hours in tefillah, standing up and sitting down, make up your mind. We haven't even reached the Micha Mocha. Let's cross the sea on over to closing song time. I know that I'm rushing through my prayers, but please God understand I really care. While the Cantor's singing not by might, there's a cookie waiting for me and it's black and white. When it's Oneg time, there'll be cookies galore. I'll be dropping challah crumbs all over the floor. The grape juice is so nasty, but it goes down fine. And when I'm 13, I'll be drinking kiddish wine. When it's Oneg time, the dessert is always free. This week it's sponsored by the Bergen Schuster family. Congrats on your bar mitzvah, and thanks for the snack. I'll see you all next Shabbos.
Oneg Kid.
Yeah, you got it. Oneg Kid will be back. The rabbi's sermon's going on and on, talking about the floods in Parshat Noach. But the only thing that is flooding my mind is the covenant between me and a Rugalach. I know that I'm rushing through my prayers, but please God understand I really care. While the Cantor's singing not by might, there's a cookie waiting for me and it's black and white. And when it's Oneg time, I'm playing tag with my friends until we're told to stop running, and then the fun ends. I'm eating like a chazer in my clip-on tie. I don't even care that the cookies are dry. And when it's Oneg time, we'll be having a blast. Unless it's Yom Kippur, then we'll be having a fast. Oh, I love my Oneg, my post-service snack. I'll see you all next Shabbos. Oneg Kid will be back. Yeah, you got it. Oneg Kid will be back. Oneg Kid will be yum bum biddy biddy bim bam bam, yum bum biddy biddy ba.
Awesome. So now you could really see what we're in for tonight, folks. That absolutely fantastic. So aside from obviously comedy and acting and being on television and everything like that, what were some musical influences, could be Jewish or secular, that had impact on you growing up?
Okay, we're going to dive right in to the craziness of my brain. I have 3 different but very equal loves of my musical life. I am a diehard musical theater fan. I am a unbelievable fan of the Great American Songbook, 1920s, 30s, 40s jazz. And I am deeply, deeply entrenched in the world of electronic dance music. So I am all over the map. I'm an EDM guy. I love DJs. I love house and techno, but I also love theater, and not just new theater, old theater, everything in between. I grew up, I had a piano teacher. This is a wild story that I don't get to tell a lot of people, but since we're getting in depth here, Cantor, I had a piano teacher as a kid. His name was Carl. And Carl could see about as well as he could hear, which was not very well at all. And we did actually a lot of ear training because he was like almost blind. And so I didn't really learn how to read music notes. And so what we would do is we would learn chord structure and progressions and inversions of chords, and then he would write chords like down on a spare piece of paper or a napkin or like whatever was nearby. He would play me like a Cole Porter or a George Gershwin tune, and then he'd be like, "Okay, now your turn." And then I'd sit down and like inevitably play it wrong, and he'd whack my hand, and it was this comedy and this relationship that was like absolutely one of the funniest things. And my folks used to drop me off at my lessons, and they dropped me off and then they'd pick me up at the end. And finally, like by the time, I was in high school, I keep telling my mom and dad about these piano lessons with this guy who's teaching me the Great American Songbook. I'm the only 13, 14-year-old kid who's singing 1920s and 30s jazz standards, and I'm loving it. But I said, Ema, like, you have to come just watch one of my lessons, because like they didn't believe me how crazy it was. And so my mom comes to watch one of these lessons. Sure enough, we're screaming at each other. He's whacking my hands. He had this little British wife who would like run into the room and and she'd be like, "Oh, Jason, that was marvelous." And he'd be like, "Well, the wife don't know too much about music now, do she?" So he was always very unimpressed with anything I did. He was always very unimpressed. But that was my biggest musical influence, was this jazz. So everything that I write comes from a place of structure of a jazz standard. And even though a lot of it's more simplified now, and even to this day, people know me. I've made my career, thanks Dad for chiming in, all true, he says. I've made my career as a guitar player, and that's what people know me as. But if you knew me growing up, you knew me as a piano player. And to this day, when I'm playing on guitar, I think about it in terms of what I would be doing on the piano, which I think is a really interesting way to think about it, because it's kind of backwards. I wish that I had had more structure with my guitar training, but my brain was wired for piano. So I always think about it in terms of what I would want to do on piano and then translating it to the guitar. And yeah, so big time jazz influence, Crazy Carl, the piano teacher, legendary guy. And yeah, those are the big influences in my life. And I think also musical theater, just to tie it back to what I'm doing now, is that there's a story in every song. And our people, the Jews, we have so many stories. We are a people who tell our story. It's one of our great laws, right? We're constantly telling the story. That's why we read Torah in a public forum. I don't know if people watching this know, but the reason why we read Torah on Mondays and Thursdays as well as on Shabbos is because those were market days back in the day. And so you knew that people would be out and about shopping. So if you were reading your Torah out there, people would get their dose of it. We're always telling our story. We're the people of the book. We are the people of the story. And music is like the greatest way to tell a story. It's also far more entertaining. So that's where it all kind of ties together.
So I'm interested when you say that you think about how you would play something on the piano and obviously the jazz standards that you learn. Is there an example from something that you have written that showcases that jazz influence?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Put me on the spot here, Cantor. I like that. So there's a song that I wrote about one boy's journey to find the Afikomen, and it came from the fact that I, as a child, never found the Afikomen. In my family, you were eligible to search for the Afikomen age 0 to 18. We had 2 Seders a year. That's 36 Seders. I went 0 for 36. I never found the Afikomen. And there was only like 4 kids ever at our Seders, so it was a nightmare. So I was writing this song. I said, the next best thing, if I couldn't find it, I'll write a song about finding it. It'll make me feel better about myself. And I started it with this sort of like jazz bass line that I was working through. There was like a, and then so I layered that with the bass line with these chords that were like minor sevenths. And then we kind of go up and then give me these like big flatted ninths. So you had your bass line with your structure and your bam, bam, boom. And then to add below it, what I always have the kids do when we're working with young families is I have them do the brushes of the drums. So they're like, so I have the kids do the drums like air brush it. And then I add my chorus. I read my story, dipped my parsley, question 1 through 4. I even waited for Elijah by the front door. Now the Seder is over, I've got one thing to do. Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. So you take your jazzy chorus, but then you add your theatrics with the verse. Ready? In the Seder, sitting next to the carafe, there was a little piece of matzah and we broke it in half. The small piece went back, the big piece went straight to Dad. He said, this is the Afikomen, and boy was I glad. I read my story, dipped my parsley, question 1 through 4. I even waited for Elijah by the front door. Now the Seder is over, I got one thing to do. So Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Well, yeah, I found it last year, so I'm kind of on fire. In 1995, my mommy hid it in the dryer. I made a map of the house. I looked under each chair. You best believe that where I am, the Afikomen's there. Ooh, I like that one. Let's reverse for a second. The meter of that, very Shakespearean. Studied a lot of theater in college. You best believe that where I am, the Afikomen's there. Hey, I read my story, did my parsley, question 1 through 4. Even waited for Elijah by the front door. Now the Seder is over, I got one thing to do. So Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Well, I searched in the den, and it's nowhere in sight. We gotta find the Afikomen and call it a night. Oh, I found it. It was under my seat. I hope you like your matzah. It's the last thing you'll eat. Because Afikomen means dessert. Now, this is a conversation for another time, but little sneak thing. Afikomen, not even a Hebrew word. It's a Greek word. It means dessert. We'll talk about it later. Hey, I read my story, did my parsley, question 1 through 4. Even waited for Elijah by the front door. Now the Seder is over, I got one thing to do. So Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you. Afikomen, I'm a-comin'. Jason, it's time to come to the table. Manishchana halayla hazemikol haleilot. Afikomen, I'm a-comin' for you.
Shakar. That was awesome.
Thanks.
That's going to be in my head all night long.
I get it. I'm both honored and sorry.
So I want you to think about you perform, and not only do you perform, Jason, you inspire.
Thank you.
I shed a tear every time. Will you tell everybody about? I know that there's a picture or a video that you posted about kids that emulate you, right? There have been
Yeah.
kids. Tell us a little bit more about that, because I want people to hear this. I mean, in what ways kids have really flattered you and emulated you?
Oh, that's okay. So I'm gonna flip the answer a little bit and say that it is always shocking to me when it happens, and I've been fortunate in my career that it happens more often these days, that people from all over the country will send me videos of their children doing an impersonation of me. And it's amazing. It's really cool and fun, and it's just nice to know someone's listening. But what I think is particularly interesting about it is that I learn things about myself and about like what I do and the shtick that I have by watching the kids do the videos. And one of the examples I have is that I got a bunch of videos from a mom who was like, they sent me the kid and he's stomping his foot and I'm like, I wrote back, I was like, why is he stomping his foot so much? And she's like, because that's what you do when you're up in front of the kids. And I like didn't know I did that. And so like little things like that, or another, I got a video from a group out in actually in Arizona, home of you guys. A family in Tucson sent me a video, and their son was speaking in this way where he was like, do you get what I'm saying? I think you do, Jason. And I was like, oh, that's really funny. And my wife says to me, she goes, he's doing you. He's doing what you do on your YouTube show. Because when you lean in real close, like you're on Blue's Clues, and you're like, do you get it? I think you do. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. He's like, yeah, he's just speaking the way you speak. But what's amazing about it is that it reminds me that, like, A, people are listening, and B, they're paying attention. So how am I using my platform, right? How am I living my life in a way that makes parents okay with their kids being around me and learning from me and learning Judaism from me? Because I always say that yes, I'm a singer, yes, I'm a performer, but really I'm a teacher, and my weapon of choice is music. So how do I harness the power of that music to teach all of what we are in the span of 3.5 minutes, you know? But yeah, it's super cool. The videos are great. It's really, really, every time it happens, I'm like more flattered than you could ever believe. Oh, and wait, also, Seth, I think you were actually there. I think when this happened, I think you were still in Los Angeles the year a student of mine came to Purim dressed as me with a bald cap and a drawn-on beard. And like skinny jeans and a tie.
It was one of the greatest things I had ever seen. And didn't you invite him to play with you something or something?
Oh yeah. I invited him to jam. Of course. What am I gonna not have him? I just felt bad that I wasn't dressed like me that day because I was in like a dinosaur costume because it was
well, so one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you that is because as you can see on the gallery, we have a lot of kids here. We have a lot of our Mayan teens who have signed on. We have kids of all ages, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that you're still a kid. And so what advice would you give an aspiring Jewish songwriter, even if they don't know how to play an instrument?
Oh, okay. Well, great question. I'm gonna put down this guitar because I think
That question was from our very own Eric Rendelman. Just wanted to let everybody know.
Eric. So during the summers, I spent a lot of time with teen programs all over the country, going to different camps and working with song leaders. And when I do my sessions with anyone, the first thing I say is put down the guitar. Teach me the song without the guitar. You don't need that. You have this entire goof. You have this entire body that you can use to teach a song. And you have, our good friend Rick Reck talks about this all the time, about you have an entire face that has eyebrows and eyeballs and a nose and a mouth. And you have all these extensions that you can be teaching an entire room with to keep their focus. And you can be cueing people with your eyes or with your nose or whatever. And so I always say, put the guitar down, because we're hiding behind that. It's like a blankie almost. So I would actually suggest for an aspiring song leader or songwriter, get rid of the guitar first and see if the song works without it. And then your piano or your guitar or banjo or whatever you're playing is an enhancement on that piece. But make sure you're writing what you know. I'm never going to fool anyone by trying to write beautiful liturgical things for Rosh Hashanah. It's not going to happen. I mean, I could try, it would be okay, but I don't know that the way I know the joys of leftovers from the Passover Seder the night before. That, to me, I know that. I feel that. So when I talk about it, it's authentic. So if you're someone who's a songwriter who's deeply connected to their spirituality or to their idea of who and what God might be, write on that. I talk with Eliana Light all the time. She's an amazing, beautiful, wonderful songwriter. And she spends all of her time singing and talking about God. And she does it in a way that I could never even begin to touch. But she knows it so well that it's like you can feel it because she knows it. So she writes what she knows. And so speaking of God, I'll give you an example with me. I was talking with a bunch of kids about God. And I turned it, actually high school kids who are watching right now, I know are my own teens here. I did this program with a bunch of teenagers as well. We were talking about God, and I said, well, how do you know God is there if you can't see God? And I said, let's talk about things we can see. What about the sun? And they said, yeah, you can see it. I said, how do you know it's going to come up tomorrow? And they say, well, because it just does. But I say, why? So, well, because it did yesterday. I said, but what about tomorrow? Well, science, it says the earth is doing the spinnies and the sun. Yeah, but what about tomorrow? And we go back and forth and back and forth. They're screaming at me. They're, Jason, and finally this one kid, he's way in the back of them, he shoots up his hand. He's like, Jason, it's going to come up tomorrow because I believe that it does. And I said, aha. And we start to make a list of all the things we believe in that we can see, that we know is already there. And maybe that is the first step on the road to believing in anything. And for me, that became a very authentic way to speak about God from my point of view, because I struggle with that topic. So for my way to talk about God was to break it down to things I do know and things that I do believe in, and that might be an okay description of God. So I'll give you an example of the song. And then actually, I know we have some of our Mayan teens here in the Zoom room. At the end of the song, what I'd like for you to do is type one thing in our chat that you also believe in, okay? It doesn't have to be from the song. The only rule for it is that you actually have to believe in it deep in your lev, in your heart. So I'll do the list, and then I want you guys to chime in with things you believe in, okay? I believe in applesauce. I believe in cranberry sauce. I believe in hoisin sauce. I believe in duck sauce, and I believe in Worcestershire sauce, 'cause it's really fun to say. But don't ask me to spell it, 'cause I can't. I believe in long nights. I believe in short flights. I believe in flashlights, and I believe in food fights, and I believe in music. I believe that we can use it to help everybody stay calm. Now I believe in airports, I believe in winter sports, I believe in jean shorts, and I believe in Hogwarts, and I believe that if we could hang out for a minute, you could teach me something that I don't know. Now I believe in the shoes on my feet, and I believe in the men on the street that sell me pretzels and hot dogs in New York City. And I believe in apple trees, I believe in Applebee's, and I believe that I'm about to sneeze. And I believe in trick-or-treating, I believe in healthy eating. Yes, I realize those are not synonymous. I believe in French fries, I believe in French guys, and I believe in fireworks and 4th of Julys. Now I believe in tap and jazz, and I believe in lyrical. The only kind of whip I believe in is miracle. And I believe in ice cream, I believe in Martin's dream, and I believe we'll see it someday. Now, I believe in moms and dads, and I believe if things are bad, that it's okay to be a little sad if you need to be. And if I see you sitting there crying on the floor, I'll say, get over here. That's what my shoulder is for. Now, I believe the sun will set, but I believe the gift we get is that the sun is coming up tomorrow, and that belief inside makes me feel safe. Do you know what they call that? I believe they call that faith. Thank you. I saw all these amazing, amazing things, all these messages coming in, things you guys believe in. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, everywhere I go in the country, and now on Zoom for this last year that we've been doing this, my favorite part of any time I get to perform is actually hearing people's things they believe in. And all of a sudden, it's this permission that you didn't actually need. You could have been open the entire time, but it's this permission for people to really open up their hearts and speak their own truth. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you all who shared your believe-ins with me, because that just warms my little heart over here.
I love reading these. I believe in life. I believe in the goodness of people. I believe in rain. Obviously, I believe COVID will go away, God willing, and going back to school in person very, very soon.
Unicorns and garlic and onions.
You could write a whole second song
ultimate
now.
Combo.
Was this the song that PJ Library published and turned into a children's book?
They have published it. They have sent it out into the world for maybe approval someday as a book. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But it did make it onto the PJ album, and I think it would make a cool book. I think it would be a really fun book. So we're hoping soon. So if you guys know anyone.
We know a few people. I think cough cough Sam Baker probably make that happen. So what is a song, could be Jewish or secular, that has been there for you during a dark time? When you're feeling sad, when you're feeling scared, what is a song that you listen to?
Oh boy. Cantor, Seth Ettinger, what a question. Oh man. I've got a couple that come to the top of my head. The one that people are gonna roll their eyes about, but I promise you is true, and every single time I hear this song I get goosebumps, is Sabbath Prayer from Fiddler on the Roof. The longest run of a professional theater production I ever did was a run of Fiddler, and we ran for 9 weeks, and we did 8 shows a week for 9 weeks, and I never got tired of that scene. There's something about that song and the way it passes through, it's generational, and it's this beautiful visual on stage and on screen of people doing what we do and finding this comfort in Shabbat, right? That's why almost every Jewish summer camp in the country sings Sabbath prayer on Friday night. And I don't
including ours, including
yeah,
including
I would hope so. Yeah. And it's this crazy thing where it's the thing that brings us all together. Shabbat has always been here for us. It may be one of the few things I have in common with the Jason Mesches that lived 1,500 years ago. Like, we may not have a lot in common, but we both had Shabbat. We both got a bunch of them a year. And what we chose to do with it was our own, but it's a gift that we've been given. And that's why the rules are keep and remember, Shamor v'Zachor, because if we don't keep it, we don't remember it, it's gone. It's a gift. We have to. So Sabbath prayer for sure. I also, the name of the song is escaping me, but there's a James Taylor song, close your eyes. You can close your eyes. It's all right. And I don't know no love songs, and I can't sing the blues anymore. I think James Taylor is one of the greatest singers ever. I've often said if I could sound like someone, it wouldn't. I often get that I sound like the guy from Barenaked Ladies. If I could sound like anyone, it would be James Taylor, because he is effortlessly smooth and you always know it's him because it's just a specific sound. And that song has come up for me so many times throughout my life. And I was brought up on like a healthy helping of James Taylor and Cat Stevens in my home growing up. And so it was there for me then with my family, and it reminds me of like where I come from. And then on September 11th, James Taylor was asked to sing in New York at the memorial like a week later. And I'm from right outside the city, and so a lot of our community was really affected by that. And he sang that song. And then it came up for me again when I moved to California. And I don't know, I love that. I love that. I love that. And then the third one I'll give you that is like always there for me is No Money by Galantis. It's a DJ duo, and I get hyped every time. Like, even if there's not a dance floor will magically be created in my head, and I'll be jumping and going. So like any Galantis, any Tiesto, any Marshmello, any of that. Oh, I think you're muted again. We lost you.
Thank you. I'm back.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. And the reason why I asked you is because since the pandemic has hit, I've been exploring not only with our congregation, but anybody who I talk to, the power of music to take us from an unwanted state of being, emotional state, to moving us into that more optimal state. And I know that everybody on here, when you're having a bad day, when you're in the car and somebody cuts you off or something happens, you don't sit in silence, you turn on the radio. I know our teens do it. I know our adults do it, our parents, our grandparents, everybody goes ahead and does it because music immediately goes ahead and matches onto our heart, matches onto our breathing, and enables us to get out that unwanted energy, which is why sound production was used to create the world in the first place. Sound brings order, you know. So I really appreciate you sharing with us because our teens need to know that they have a lot. I find that this pandemic, and excuse me for just talking a little bit, is very hard for everybody, but toddlers, teens, adults, everybody, our senior community is experiencing it in different ways, and everybody is getting very emotional and depressed, and we want it to go ahead and be over. And I think it's very important that they hear from someone like you that music is probably the greatest therapeutic tool there is. That's why we sing on Shabbat first. Oh yeah. That's why with this week's Torah portion, Beshalach. This week's Torah portion, Beshalach. The first thing that the people of Israel did when they crossed the sea is sing. The first thing they did. So music is always there, and it sounds like it's been there for you since the moment you were born. And
yeah. It's so funny because people always ask me, they say, Jason, you're so musical. Are your parents musical? And for the longest time, I always said no. But the answer has changed in the last couple of years when I've really taken an inventory of like what our family car rides were like and what our house was like and what I was exposed to as a kid, like was all music. And so like my folks, are they trained in an instrument or anything like that. No, not to any like great level. I hear my dad played timpani back in the day, and my mom played a little piano, but like they are musical. And if they weren't, they wouldn't have put all that music in front of me. And so I think also, I was thinking about you were saying the car thing when people get in their car. I had one friend from my childhood back in New Jersey who was a total maniac, and he drove in silence. He never listened to music, and it was the weirdest thing in high school. Like drive around in his car, like put on some music, you weirdo, or at least like a podcast. It was crazy, just silence. Very weird.
Wow. Well, I'm channeling my inner James Lipton. Okay. Is there a piece of liturgy, maybe a song, maybe a piyut, that you find is the freshest among all of the songs or piyutim or pieces of liturgy? And will you go ahead and teach us about the freshest Jewish song there is? I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I have this fascination with Hatikva. And I have a fascination with national anthems anyway. I think it's wild that every country has one. There's actually 3 countries in our world that have national anthems that don't even have lyrics, but every country has one. And your nation's anthem is this like thing that you are brought up with, and it is the thing that you get when you win an Olympic medal. And I have always been blown away by Hatikva because it is the only national anthem in the entire world, and I've done the research, that is both in a major and minor key, thus making it the freshest national anthem in the streets. And I want to show you why, Cantor Seth. Let's find a key real fast.
And the reason why I've asked Jason to do this is because I always knew that he was funny and that he was a gifted songwriter. But it wasn't until I'm sitting there and I'm watching Jason teach the teens at Wilshire Boulevard Temple about Hatikva, which nobody under the age of probably 25 or 30 thinks Hatikva is interesting at all. And here he had the teens just out of their seats and the brilliance and the depth. So I'm going to have him show you, but this just blew me away.
I can't believe you remember this. I'm honored. This is hilarious. Okay, so Naftali Ember writes this amazing piece of poetry, and it becomes the anthem for Israel. And we start in the beginning, like every great Jewish melody you've ever heard, in this sad, depressing minor key, right? Oh Lord, Palevav Penima. It's every single Jewish song you ever heard, right? Just slowed down. And we're talking about where we're coming from, where we're going. And the minute in the text, right at the very moment where they start talking about hope, major key. It changes from this sadness, this drudgery, this oy that we've been dealing with our whole lives, and they start talking about hope. Right? But then, just like the story of the Jewish people, it's not great forever. Back to a minor key. And is that not the story of the Jewish people, Cantor Seth? It's this roller coaster of emotions that we've been dealing with since we were invented. Since God said to Abraham, hey, become the first Jew. And Abraham said, great. Okay. and this is our story. It's hope. It's hope. We go like this, up and down and up and down. And so if you weren't even listening to the words and you were just listening to the music, you would still be able to hear the story of the Jewish people just through the musicality of the song. What a gift. What an insane gift we've been given. Ugh, no one gives it credit. It's the hottest anthem in the streets. I love it.
Amazing. So in a moment, we're going to go ahead and open up for questions. Okay. And we thank you, Jason, for being here with us and for sharing your background and your influences and your wonderful, wonderful music. I just want to go ahead and end, before we open it up for questions, with, do you know any good jokes? Maybe of a rabbinic nature.
Yeah, I do. So, going back to where we started, we'll bookend the night. I am fascinated by these little things in our culture that make us who we are, but they crack me up. And one of those things is that our clergy feel the need to work on their amateur stand-up comedy routine sometimes when they're drashing and dvaring, and it's great, and it's always good to open with a joke. And when I was growing up, we had a rabbi who told a lot of jokes, and we called him Rabbi Jokes. And Rabbi Jokes told my favorite jokes, so I wrote a song about Rabbi Jokes, and I'll share a couple of those jokes with you. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Two rabbis walking into the synagogue. The first one said, "Hey, how's your Rosh Hashanah going?" The second one said, "So far, so good." Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. Stop me if you've heard this one before. How much does the end of Shabbat cost? $50. Hey, Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. Stop me if you've heard this one before. How can you tell the difference between regular fish and gefilte fish when they're swimming around in the ocean? Gefilte fish have a little piece of carrot on their back. Hey, let's go! Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes too. Why was the rabbi so good at basketball? He was the tallest one on the team. Oh, you got Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes. Now, do you know why you should serve the chopped liver before the charoset on Pesach? If you do it the other way, it causes cirrhosis of the liver. Oi, Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. Cantor Seth, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Bar.
Bar who?
Please rise for the bar who. Whoa, Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes to tell. All right, last one. What's a bartender's favorite Jewish holiday? Purim. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes, and you can tell them as well. Rabbi Jokes are my favorite jokes too. Bum, ba, ba, da, ba, dum.
I just love I love looking at Sid Saperstein's face the entire time that song was going on, because at first it was like, but then you got going in that mouth open, and that was the best. And Judy and him and everybody just that was that was great. So I want to go ahead and open it up to whoever would like to go ahead and ask a question. If you want to go ahead and ask a question in the chat that you would like to, I'm going to say ask Jason, really about anything about him, about music, about the importance of music. Does anybody want to go ahead and ask a question? So from Eric Rendelman, You got to give other people a chance, Eric, too. Now, at what point in making music did you decide to record proper albums, and what was that like?
Thanks, Eric. That's a great beard. The first team all beard right there.
You're welcome. Good beard back. Game recognized game.
Appreciate you. So I recorded my first album because my boss at the synagogue I was working at told me you should record these. People will use these songs in their classrooms. And so that was the process for the first one. And then the second one, and the guy who I work with all the time now, a friend of mine who's a producer, who does a lot of like television jingles and stuff like that, he was interested in working on something that wasn't jingles and commercial beats and stuff. And so I said, what about a Jewish kids album? And he's like, well, that's about as different as it gets. But it was really, really cool, really a fun process. But the first one, back to your question, I decided to do it because my boss told me that I should. I wouldn't have come to it on my own, I don't think.
Well, Jewish mentors are funny like that. They they push us to do all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a question from Steve Goldston. How does your songwriting process work?
So the question sometimes I get a lot along these lines is what comes first, the music or the lyrics? And I don't have a method. The idea usually comes first, but in terms of the music or the lyrics, it just kind of depends. But what I mean by the idea is that sometimes the idea is a musical idea. I will get a melody in my head, and then I will try to find the topic that fits the energy of that melody. And sometimes I'll get a context or like what the song should be about idea in my head. I will write the lyrics first and then write music around it. And then sometimes people ask me, they'll be like, hey, we're having a baby naming. Would you write a song about a baby? Or, or like I said before, like, would you write a song about kashrut? Or would you, that's actually for me, as much of an ideas guy as I am, I actually really like when people come to me and they're like, hey, we've got this thing in our class where we use a talking plastic spork. Would you help us write a theme song for it? And like that for me is my favorite. I really, really, really like that. Or yeah, sometimes my parents give me an assignment.
We have time for one more question. And then I'm going to make a very special request of Jason. So Eliana Black, one of our teens, have you ever wrote a song right on the spot or been told to sing a new song right then and there?
Eliana, great question. Yeah, probably. There have been some times, the only one I can think of was I was at a conference for cantors and song leaders, and it was like a late night coffee house thing, and someone had said to me, do you have like Rabbi Jokes? Do you have a song about Rabbi Bits? Like all of the like shtick that goes with being a member of the clergy. And I started on the spot improvising a song called When My Eyes Meet Yours, which was about like all the different ways that rabbis approach how they want to do the Kaddish in their synagogue. So it wasn't like the most appropriate use of the form, but that's the one time I had to do one right on the spot. When my eyes meet yours.
When my eyes meet yours. So again, Jason, this was an absolutely fantastic hour, and thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your experience and your teaching with us, but also making us laugh and making us feel very, very happy. And especially during this time in our lives, we need that happiness and we need that singing that only you can provide.
Thanks, Cantor Seth. You're the best. And thanks for doing this. I got to watch episode 1 with Jacob Spike Krause, and I think it's really nice to be able to hear where our songwriters are coming from, what they're doing, what they're about. And so thanks for giving us a place to talk about it and further learn about ourselves as we talk to each other. It's pretty cool. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Jason's going to be with us throughout the entire weekend, working with our preschool tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening, and joining Rabbi Mason Barkin and I for Shabbat Shachari Tu B'Shvat service on Saturday morning, and our Dear Debbie tribute concert on Saturday night, starting with Havdalah at 6:30 p.m., which we hope all of you will go ahead and come to. It's going to be incredibly amazing. And working with our religious school students on Sunday. We are very, 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 very excited and hope that you will all join us for one or all of these programs. So to end, Jason, will you go ahead and sing for us probably my favorite song from I Want to Go to Mars? Okay. And if any of you want to check out Jason's, before you look at him, he's scared. If any of you want to check out Jason's music, all of his music is available not only on Spotify, but on Amazon Music and iTunes. I highly suggest picking up one or three of these albums. They're so amazing.
Thank you.
You are big, but also small.
All right.
When we've heard a lot of your comedy tonight. When I heard this song, it brought a tear to my eye. It really showed an amazing depth and one that I will hope to teach to my children when they are a little bit older. So it's a very strong message that we can all go ahead and resonate with. And please go ahead and let's end that tonight. And thank you everybody for being here for the second episode of Inside the Cantor Studio.
Thanks so much. Oh man, no one ever asks me to sing this song. I'm so excited. I will say that the one influence in my life that I didn't mention, but I talked about how people say I sound like them, is the Barenaked Ladies. And I think that band from the 90s who's still churning out music, by the way, they're so creative. And even when they're being sweet, they're still so creative. And I was definitely inspired by the way they think when I was writing this song. And someone had asked me about writing a song for a baby naming, and I don't have children of my own. And people will say, well, how do you write about something you don't know? I said, well, something I learned in acting school is that you have to pretend, right? How do you play a murderer if you've never murdered someone, right? You know, it's like, you just have to pretend. Or how do you play a chef if you've never been a professional chef, whatever. So I had to pretend. And I thought to myself, what would I sing at my child if I had a newborn in front of me? So this is what we came up with. You are brave, you are strong, you're a single inspiration for 500,000 songs. You are kind, you are bright, and I love the way you smile when you're half asleep at night, and it is all inside your heart. You're 1,000 little blessings, make a work of art, and I can see it in your eyes that you are gonna change the world. So I guess it's no surprise that you are big and you're also small. I'm gonna say a lot of things like that. You won't understand them all, 'cause you are here and you're also there, and the people that surround you will love you anywhere, and it is all inside your heart. You're 1,000 little blessings that make a work of art, and I can see it in your eyes that you are gonna change the world. So I guess it's no surprise that you are loud and you're also soft. I had a minor meltdown the first time that you coughed, but we get sick and then we rest and we get chicken noodle soup, and that stuff is the best, and it is all inside your heart. You're 1,000 little blessings, make a work of art, and I can see see it in your eyes that you are gonna change the world. So I guess it's no surprise that you are young and you'll get old. You'll refuse to wear a jacket and then complain you're cold. Yeah, you are young, but you'll be old. So for now, just stay here with me. Thanks, everybody. I'm excited to spend the rest of the weekend with you. And if I don't see you for the rest of the weekend, I hope you had an amazing Tu B'Shvat, huh?
Thank you, Jason. Good night, everyone.